What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode. So today I'm basically just picking up where I left off on the last one. So on the last one I just kind of got started on mapping out or kind of planning out what I'm going to be doing for the chassis harness on the E36. So today I'm just picking up where I left off. If you guys haven't already seen that, make sure you guys check it out. I did start making these things. So if you don't know what these are for, make sure you guys check that last video out. So right now I'm just gonna get right on into it, and I'm just gonna start cleaning these things up just because the edges are still all jagged and stuff, and I'm just gonna get them ready as if they were gonna be mounted on for the final time. And then from there, a lot of my parts are actually starting to come in for the wiring. So I am gonna get started on the chassis harness, because now that a lot of parts are actually coming in, I can start mocking them up on these panels and stuff. Oh, I just gave it away, but whatever. I can start mocking them up on these panels. So I'm just gonna get right on into it. I have these things chilling right here, so I just want to clean these up a bit because there are still a lot of rough edges, and I think I want to paint them just because it's like raw metal, so kind of want to paint it. And I have this one also, so again, just really sharp edges, kind of some crooked lines and stuff. So I'm just gonna clean it up a bit, kind of just make it a little bit more presentable. And if you guys don't know what these are for, make sure you guys check out the last video where I actually started kind of planning out and mapping out my chassis harness. Or just kind of stay tuned till later on. I'll probably have this installed on the car again. Alright, I'm not too sure where I left off, just because it has been about a week and a half or two since that last clip. So I have kind of gotten a lot done since then. But here is the electrical panel, all painted, and I have all the holes drilled out. And I actually did put some riv nuts on these holes, so I do have like the bolts and everything all ran through for those. So yeah, I'm really happy on how that came out. And then from there, I even got this guy done as well. So this plate is all good. On the other side, I put some kind of like weather stripping just to seal the holes off. And then on this side, I don't know if you guys saw this already, but I put riv nuts on that just to kind of run it through. So I have been taking super long filming this video, a lot longer than I really wanted to, but there is a reason. I have been working on the wiring harness, just kind of off camera and stuff, just because, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but this is the first wiring harness that I'm building from scratch. So because of that, I didn't really want to film like the whole thing because I don't really know if what I'm doing is right. So I just kind of wanted to build the harness, show you guys the harness that I built, put it in the car, see if it works. If it works, then hey, that's good. And if it doesn't work, then we'll just kind of take it from there. So for the past 2 weeks, I've basically just kind of been locked in my room and the garage, just working on wiring and the wiring harness and stuff. So with all that being said, I pretty much already finished the harness. So I'm gonna show you guys that. I'm really excited on how it came out. Let me know what you guys think. Alright, and there it is. Super hyped. And if you guys can see, I did use Reychem DR-25, and then all the actual wires that I used. So all of the wiring that I use is actually like Tefzel. So the insulation of the wiring is actually like Teflon, which makes it a lot more heat resistant than any like regular automotive wiring. I'll put the links in the description of where I got all this stuff. So this is what they use in like motorsports harnesses. I didn't get any of those like heat shrink boots for the junctions, so I didn't go like full-blown motorsports harness, but it is pretty sealed. And this stuff is Reychem heat shrink, but it is like a double walled with adhesive on the inside. So I did use the double walled adhesive heat shrink for all of the junctions, if you see that. But overall, I kept it very simple. I did use the Tefzel wiring that I ordered throughout pretty much the whole harness, and all of the plugs, I did use the factory plugs and then just spliced them in. And pretty much on every plug, I did kind of incorporate these like service loops. So whenever I did do like the wiring on the Accord, I didn't really do anything like this, and this kind of like this little loop here is just kind of to make it a little bit more flexible so it could bend in a little bit more directions without this part of the wiring actually bending. And then it also does just kind of add some strain relief as well. So when this is plugged in, this could kind of move in other directions or kind of pull it, and it's pulling on this part, not the actual pins on the inside. It just kind of starts off with the X20 plug. So this is where that firewall plug goes through. I do want to kind of figure something out with this one, but for now I think I'm just gonna kind of run it like underneath that little plate that I made, kind of like sandwiched in between that insulation and that little plate. So this is going to be the harness that goes to the front left headlights. Right here you have the wires that go to the turn signal switch, so I do need to resplice that, but whatever. And then right here there's like the brake switch. These are all the wires for the cluster. Right here is the switch panel. That's the front right headlight assembly. And then this right here, this is what I'm super excited about. So this is what gets mounted to that electrical panel that I mounted on the inside of the car on the passenger side. So I actually did find a PDM. I'll give you guys a little bit more information on that later. I am running a little bit of fuses just for some of the really basic things, like the cluster, things like that. And then for the headlights and the tail lights, I actually am running a relay assembly still. and I'll kind of explain that a little bit more when I explain the PDM. And if you guys did see on the electrical panel, I actually did have a circuit breaker mounted, and that's where all these things will be plugged in. Then it's just gonna route back. Right here you have the plugs for the fuel pump and the fuel level sending unit. That's gonna be the other side. And then this, I haven't spliced it in, but this is for the speed sensor. So just because I don't have a plug or anything to actually like plug it into the speed sensor, I haven't spliced it in yet, just so I could actually be taking on and off the harness without having to cut that wire. And then going back here, these are the tail lights. So yeah, there's the harness. Pretty basic stuff. So yeah, I'm super excited on how this thing came out. Make sure you guys let me know in the comments what you guys think about it. I have already plugged the harness into the car, and I just wanted to test fit everything, just kind of make sure everything is fitting and plugging in the way I want it to. And with taking it on and off, it actually is really easy to like disconnect everything. So far, the only thing that I'm finding that's a real pain, this right here, which are the wires for the actual switch panel on the dash. So just because these are like spade connectors and it's behind the dash, they kind of suck to get to. So at some point I do want to include some sort of like connection, just so I could like quickly connect it and disconnect it. And then over here, the wires that are going to the front left headlights. So I think you guys saw in the last video or in this video, I was making this like kind of like a bulkhead connector. So this thing makes it really easy. But if you see, I also have this cable that goes out to the headlights. So at the moment I don't really have anything for this, so I might order myself a 3-pin bulkhead connector, or like a, I don't know, I'm still not too sure on that. I need to think about it. But at the moment, what I'm doing right now is just kind of like sandwiching it, like running it through that hole in the firewall, and then just sandwiching it in between the plate and the firewall. So it's just kind of has some space with that little like that like weather seal. So it's good for now, but I do want to figure something out for this cable. But other than that, everything is fitting up really good, and everything is working the way I want. And again, on this plate, if you guys didn't see the first time, I have that circuit breaker right there, pretty much ready to go. And if you guys look at the circuit breaker right there, you guys see the cable going up out of the firewall. I basically have that plugged in to that like positive terminal on the inside of the engine bay. So that's where that's getting the power from. And then from there, the circuit breaker is providing power to the rest of the components on this. And then from there, that provides power to the rest of the car. So yeah, pretty basic stuff. When I had the harness in and I had everything all plugged in, I did test it out, and everything is working so far from what I can see. So like the headlights are working, turn signals, brake, fuel pump, everything. But the issue that I ran into at the moment is this fuel pump here. So if you guys did see in the other videos, there was this line was kind of running on the outside, running here, and I kind of found out why. So as soon as I kicked on the fuel pump, it did turn on, but a bunch of fuel started squirting out everywhere. It was just leaking, and I took the hose out. I cut it out a little bit because I saw the hose was kind of rotting. So I cut a little bit off, reclamped it on, and it was still leaking a bunch. So I did have this Dash 6 AN hose laying around, and it is a nice fit. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect that up, and for now I'm just going to connect it over on top just so I can make sure there's no leaks, and then after that we'll go ahead and run it underneath there. For now I just want to keep it on top just to kind of see if there are leaks or anything. And a little bit later I'm going to get started on plugging the chassis harness in, getting everything all connected, and I'm going to test the fuel pump again, and hopefully there's no more leaks. And I do actually need to pump all this fuel out of here and get some new fuel in here, because this stuff is smelling super bad. That fuel has been sitting in here for probably like 2 years now, so not good. I don't want to be pumping that through the car. Alright, so since I have that engine harness out chilling on the floor, I'm just going to go ahead and take care of some last minute little details, because there are a couple of splices that have the heat shrink over it but just not shrink down. So I just need to go through, finish up a couple little details, and fix that one splice that came undone. So I'm just going to go through, fix a couple of little last minute details, tie up a few loose ends, and then I'll go through and start plugging in the harness into the car. So I'll get back to you guys then. Alright, so I'm not too sure where I left off, but I did go through and get everything all connected. So there are some wires hanging down. I haven't really mounted those up, like tucked those out of the way, but I did connect the switch panel and I connected the cluster. And all of this over here is all plugged in. So it is kind of looking like a mess right there. Once I get that fuse bus all mounted in place, then I could go through and trim all these wires up and just kind of like route it a little bit cleaner. And from there, I still have to kind of go through the entire harness and make sure it is all secured and mounted in place. But I'll probably do that another day for another video. And I know I didn't talk about this PDM that I'm running, so I am planning on making a video just on that thing all by itself once I do kind of get a little bit more familiar with it and make sure that everything is actually working the way I want it to. Because I mean, so far it is working. So I'm just gonna go ahead and turn power on. So I just turned power on to the fuse block. You can kind of see that there's a couple lights that shine, but right now it's not on. So I'm gonna turn on main power, and you can see one of the lights is on. So that's basically indicating that it has turned power on to those circuits. And you can see that the cluster is on, so some things are working here. So I will label these in the future, but since I wired them, I pretty much know what each one is. So this is the starter, this is the main power, this right here is going to be for the fuel pump, This one is an empty slot. This is basically just like auxiliary power, but I did leave it empty just in case I want to run an electric fan in the future. I did kind of leave this as a auxiliary slot for that. This one right here is controlling my headlights, and then this is just like a kill switch. So I can probably take this one out and use something else for that in the future, but I don't really have much that I need to use. So I just turn on main power. You can see that the cluster comes on, and the PDM, you can see that it's on. I mean, if I try starting it, it starts. Fuel pump does turn on, so listen out. So fuel pump does turn on. This is just an auxiliary, like I said, and I'm pressing the brake pedal. If you take a look back here, you can kind of see that the brake lights are actually coming on. And then let's try the last one. So, oh, there's no noise. I forgot. So I'm trying I forgot. I'm trying to test the turn signals right now, and I thought they weren't working because I wasn't hearing a clicking noise. But I forgot there's no physical clicker, so it doesn't really make a noise. But if you take a look, the signal is on. And on this side, signal is going. Cool, cool. And then turn to the left, signal is going. And there's the rear one. Alright guys, so I think that's gonna do it for today's video. I'm super stoked. Make sure you guys let me know what you guys think of that harness. But yeah, I mean, the car's all wired up. That was one of the big hurdles I needed to get over, and it's all wired. So I am super stoked. From here, I am just waiting on a couple parts to come in so I can finish up the brakes, and then from there, I can drive the car. If you guys are enjoying the progress of the build, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. And if you guys want to see this thing driving and ripping, hit that subscribe button. See you guys in the next one. Later.